Your short-term goal is to graduate. We're going to look through your transcript. We suggest you do the same thing and make sure you're on track to graduate next May. Your long-term goal is what you're going to do after graduation. Maybe you're headed off to college. Maybe you're going to enlist. Maybe you're going to go to trade school or go straight into the workforce. We want to make sure that we've helped you with your plans for the future. Let's review the credits that you need to graduate. You need 4 credits of English, 4 credits of math, which includes Algebra 1 and geometry. You'll need 3 credits of science, one of which must be biology, 3 credits of social science, world history, U.S. history, a semester of government, and a semester of economics. You're going to need 8 elective credits and 1 online class. You also have to pass some tests. You have to pass your FSA reading assessment or a concordant test such as the ACT or the SAT. You have to pass the FSA Algebra 1, or you can meet the score in an alternate test such as the PSAT. You also have to take EOCs, which are end-of-course assessments, and you must take one for geometry, biology, and U.S. history. Your unweighted GPA must be no less than a 2.0 cumulative GPA. However, students at both Bartow Senior High and Summerlin Academy get the exact same diploma. Your required online class must be taken at Polk Virtual School, and in some cases, Florida Virtual. Suggestions for a good online class are critical thinking skills, driver's ed, and hope. So what do you want to do when you graduate? Maybe you want to go to college. Perhaps you've thought about enlisting, Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, Air Force. Maybe you're not sure. Should you do reserves or should you do National Guard? Maybe you've thought about going to a technical or a trade school. Maybe you want to be an electrician or a carpenter or a mechanic. Maybe you want to go straight into the workforce because you're really just not sure exactly what you want to do yet. There's certainly no right or wrong. You have to find what's right for you. We suggest that you take 2 years of foreign language. If you're a Summerlin student, it's required for the honorary Summerlin diploma. 2 years of the same language. And this is because Bright Future Scholarship requires at least 2 years. So does NCAA if you're planning to play Division I sports. If you're going to a competitive school or plan to go to a competitive school, you're going to do better if you have more than 2 years, but 2 years at least to apply to the larger universities. The options are Spanish at Bartow, and at Summerlin, the options are Russian and Japanese, and IB also has German. Schools. That's going to help you know a little bit more about college and the process. It's going to let you know if you feel like you're going to be comfortable there. It's also a good idea to talk to a recruiter about all the options for the military after you graduate. There's many options for the military to pay for your post-secondary education, and any recruiter will be happy to talk to you. It's also a really good idea just to simply explore. Go on the internet, go on collegeboard.org, make a FastWeb account. Whatever career goal you're interested in, find a college that offers that major so that you can start seeing what it takes to get into certain schools. What are the admission requirements? What ACT or SAT score will you need to be competitive to gain admission to that college? What's the minimum GPA that you need to have to get in? How are you going to get merit scholarships at those colleges? You definitely want to be armed with information so that when you go to apply in the beginning of your senior year, you know that you're applying to schools that you have a good shot at getting in. People often ask, well, what ACT or SAT score should I get? It's always good to make sure you know what the university requires, but for the Bright Future Scholarship, those are really good ACT and SAT scores to shoot for. So let's go over the Bright Future Scholarship. If you're going to go to a college in Florida, this is tuition assistance. For instance, the top tier, the Florida Academic Scholar, that is going to require a 3.5 GPA and a 1330 on the SAT or a 29 on the ACT. You're going to need 100 community service hours and you'll need 2 years of foreign language. So if you're at a state school like University of Florida, Polk State, USF, this is going to pay your full tuition. If you don't have that GPA or you don't quite make those test scores, there is the Florida Medallion Scholar as well. It requires at least a 3.0 GPA, a 1210 on the SAT, or a 25 on the ACT, 75 community service hours, and also 2 years of foreign language. Now, if you're at a private school, this is not going to pay full tuition, but it is going to pay a substantial amount of tuition over the course of 4 years. There's also a technical scholarship if you've been in certain career and technical education courses, such as cabinet making or agriculture. And then there is a test requirement for that as well. And you can take the SAT, the ACT, or the PERT to qualify for the vocational scholarship. And that's going to get you a scholarship at a trade school. And you also need 30 community service hours for the Gold Seal Vocational. So these are really good things to know ahead of time so that you're not waiting till your senior year to make sure things fall in place. You're going to have to be intentional about finding out what you need to do to reach your goal. That's why it's important to look at many different things so that you understand the requirements for your plan A, for your plan B, and for your plan C, so that you're not caught at the end wishing that you had planned a little bit better. We give you a packet for your junior conference, and it will include the Bright Futures information. You can also look on the website for Bright Futures and see all the details there. Let's talk about ACT and SAT tests. Primarily, they're used for college admission. Colleges look at these scores to measure you against your peers all across the nation. When you're taking a test here in Florida, they're also taking it in Wisconsin on that very same day. It's a very accurate measure so that they can see where you stand amongst your peers. And remember, you need a 1330 on the SAT or a 29 on the ACT for the full amount on the Bright Futures. Of course, some people use these tests as concordance scores if they haven't passed the FSA for the reading or for the Algebra 1 EOC. But those are typically taken at the school, and they don't count for college admissions. So for college admission, you're going to need to take this on your own on a Saturday at a location near your house. We often get asked, what's the difference in the ACT and the SAT? How will I know which one to take? ACT can be found on ACT.org. They have practice tests there, and the SAT is found on collegeboard.org. And you can explore and take practice tests there if you want to get a feel for which test you might be more comfortable with. It's really a good idea to take each test. And then if you have to take it a second time, take the one that you do better on or the one that you feel more comfortable. So what are the differences? You need to be preparing right now to take these tests. You want to take 1 or 2 tests your junior year, but never take a test without being fully prepared. Do not waste a test. They are expensive and they take a while. They're a few hours, so you don't want to go through all of that if you're not ready. So let's talk about how do you get ready for the ACT and the SAT. When you were in 10th grade, you took the PSAT. You can use that score to sort of guide you. You can also use that score to set up an account on collegeboard.org with Khan Academy. Khan Academy is going to see how you scored on the PSAT, and it's going to design a study guide based on how you did, so that it's going to help you improve some of those skills that you didn't score as high on the PSAT. It's free and personalized study for you. You can't beat it. Of course, there are private test centers that you can go to and pay money for, and they'll help you with test prep for the ACT and the SAT as well. To study for the ACT, you definitely want to go to their website, ACT.org. They have ACT Academy and other things on their website that will help you prepare for the test. The ACT Academy is also personalized and it's also free. And you can practice this test as many times as you like. It goes quickly. That's why it's good to take these practice tests. You want to be used to the timing of the test and how much time you have on each section. That's why we can't stress enough that you need to sit through full-length practice test as many times as possible before you take the actual test. So let's review. You have the ACT and you have the SAT. ACT has a science section, the SAT does not. There's no penalty for guessing on either test, which means that you don't leave them blank. We suggest that you take one of each. Both can be super scored. Let's explain super score. Super score means they're going to take most colleges will take the best of each section from multiple tests. Both are acceptable for Bright Futures and both are acceptable for NCAA, and most colleges will accept either or. Both are timed and both are done in locations other than school for the college admissions. Make sure that you've studied for these tests. You're going to schedule them on the website. The SAT is on collegeboard.org and ACT is on ACT.org. You're going to make sure that you take full-length practice tests, as many as you can. Set a timer and take these tests under the same conditions that the tests are given. Get there early, because if you get there late, they're not going to let you in. Make sure you get plenty of sleep the night before the test. Eat well. Don't eat a lot of sugar. Same testing things we've been telling you since you were in kindergarten. Set 3 alarms. Bring a jacket in case the testing environment is cold. Bring a snack in case you have a break. And if you qualify for free lunch, or you would if we didn't already have free lunch at our school, then make sure you ask for the waiver form. And if you qualify, there are waivers available for the ACT and the SAT. So why are these tests so important? You have to take one of these tests to qualify for Bright Futures. You have to have a certain score on either the ACT or the SAT to get that scholarship. Most colleges, especially universities, are going to require that you have had the ACT or the SAT. Most scholarships, especially merit scholarships, are going to be looking at your SAT or your ACT scores to determine if you're eligible for a scholarship. Additionally, these tests can also be used as a concordance score for reading and Algebra 1. And a little free tip for you: anytime you take these tests, it's always a great idea to list the colleges that you want to see your scores and include Polk State as one of those colleges. And there's a few reasons why. Number one, a lot of people end up going there anyway because they find that going there 2 years before they go off to a university is cost effective. Secondly, if you have any interest in doing dual enrollment through Polk State in your senior year, now they already have your test score, which saves you from having to take an additional test. You are permitted to list 4 colleges or universities that you want these test scores to go to for free. If you add colleges for the test scores to go to later, you may have to pay an additional $12. Let's go over community service hours. You definitely need 100 for the top amount of Bright Futures. You need 75 for the Florida Medallion Scholarship, and then 30 for the Bright Futures Gold Seal Vocational Scholarship. There's other scholarships that may require community service as well. It looks good when you're applying to, especially the more rigorous and competitive colleges, if you have community service. And then if you have 250 community service hours, you'll wear a special white cord at the graduation ceremony. If you're a Summerlin Academy student, you're required to have 150 community service hours to get the honorary Summerlin diploma. You want to make sure you have all the information about community service. There's specific forms that you need to get. You can get them at the Bartow High School Guidance Office, or if you're a Summerlin student, at the front office at Summerlin Academy. They're also found on the school board website. But you need to make sure that you have somebody that's authorizing and supervising your activity, sign off on the form before you turn them in. And make sure that you've got a copy for yourself to keep track of your own hours. There are numerous agencies and not-for-profit businesses that you can do your community service hours at. Please be sure that your location is already pre-approved, and that can be found in the packet, or you can use the website. Ms. Brister has a Google site if you're a Summerlin student. There's numerous ways that you can find out pre-approved places. You can also use a really good website called Volunteer Polk that will help steer you to find a location maybe near where you live, or maybe doing something that you're interested in as a career. For instance, Volunteer in Medicine is out of Lakeland, and they do volunteer work like with clinics and helping people who don't have insurance have medical care. A lot of medical students like to use Volunteer in Medicine because it gives them that opportunity to see what types of careers are out there that they might be interested in doing later. But it definitely has to be something that's providing a community service. So don't get confused at churches. Churches are fine if it's a food bank, but you can't use churches for, your youth group, or you can't use working in the nursery or things like that. It cannot be anything to do with evangelizing. But a lot of churches have food banks, and those are very good opportunities to get community service hours. During the pandemic, you may be worried about getting out and about, but the teen court is now virtual, so that you can get your community service hours through teen court from your own house. So you have to be a little creative during times like this, but there's still ways to find your community service hours. Let's talk a little bit about paying for college. Of course, there's scholarships out there, but there's also financial aid, federal and state scholarships, and federal and state financial aid. Bright Futures, which we mentioned earlier, is a state scholarship. So that's only for students that graduate from Florida and go to college in Florida. After October 1st of your senior year, you're going to make your account with the state for the Bright Futures and many, many other scholarships that you may be eligible for through the state. You're also going to make your FAFSA account, and that stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. This is going to require your parents to do a portion of this as well, because it's going to be primarily based on your family income. And we'll give you all that information during your senior year, but it's also found on many different websites. But you'll get a senior packet when you have your senior conference that will give you instructions on making your FAFSA and your Bright Futures account. Scholarships are something that you earn. It may be because of your grades, your athletic ability, or something that you did to qualify for that scholarship. Usually it's something competitive. Financial aid is something that you will get because of your income or a certain status that you have. And then there's also loans. So if you have scholarships and financial aid, but you still have a certain amount of tuition left to pay, that's when you would probably have to get a student loan. A little bit more about scholarships. Colleges are going to be looking for students that are going to do well all through school. So they're going to use your transcript as a basis for how they think that you're going to do in college. So they're willing to offer merit scholarships to the finest students, because those are the ones that will graduate within 4 years. So your hard work in high school can definitely pay off as far as tuition assistance goes once you're in college. There's also the Polk Education Foundation scholarships. You can apply for those in January or February of your senior year. Many local businesses want to give back to students in Polk County, and it's an excellent opportunity to have a $1,000 scholarship or a $1,500 scholarship that will come in really handy, especially your first year in college. You can also make an account with FastWeb, and FastWeb, you could even do that now. There are some scholarships that you can apply for as a junior. When you make a FastWeb account or any of these scholarship searches, it's always a really good idea to use a separate email than your regular email because you tend to get a lot of spam in your email. So make a separate email just for scholarship searches. Go on fastweb.com and you're going to find a lot of information that's going to be very helpful. In particular, scholarships. They will send you more information about scholarships than you'll ever have time to complete. Are you an athlete? Do you think you'll play Division I or Division II sports? Then you might need to make an NCAA account. Go on their website and make sure that you're taking the appropriate classes that qualify for NCAA. That would mean no credit recovery classes. They do require certain classes, so make sure that you're going to the NCAA website to make sure that you're taking the right classes for an NCAA placement at a college. So in general, when you're looking at colleges, you want to find out what college has what you're looking for. And you can do that by going on to FastWeb, as we mentioned, and making that account. You can also go and visit colleges. Do this on your spring break or maybe during the summer or sometime when your family is passing through a certain area. Making arrangements to stop and look at the colleges. This is very helpful to you to find out if this is the place that you would feel comfortable for 4 years. Also, what's realistic? For some people, it is more realistic for them to start at Polk State, take their first 2 years there, live at home, save some money, and then go on to a university for their last 2 years. Especially if you're not in that really high GPA or really high category of SAT scores, you may not get as many scholarships, in particular merit scholarships. So there's no right or wrong for how you do college. It's right or wrong for you, your budget, what you're comfortable with, and what works for you and your family, and what's going to make you happy, and what's going to be in your best interest. Many people go to Polk State and then transfer after 2 years to a university. Some people go to trade school because the job that they want to do does not require a 4-year degree. So going to trade school is a wonderful option, and there's 2 really good trade schools right here in Polk County, Travis and Ridge, that you can get more information from as well. That will be included in your junior packet. It will also be something that you could go onto the website and find out for yourself, or just call and go ask to visit or tour when they're open. During the pandemic, not all these places are giving tours, but you could give a call or you could go on their website and look around. How can you make your transcript or your resume look a little bit more appealing? A lot of times, what might make you stand out from somebody else is your extracurricular activities. Now, GPA and test scores are obviously the most important thing to colleges, but the extracurricular can sometimes make a difference because it shows a little bit about what you're going to bring to their school. On your schedule, you know, if you have a lot of AP classes and you don't have a lot of time, you really need to make sure that you're not taking on too much. But what is your area of interest? So perhaps that you're in cabinet making and you want to go on and get construction management degree. Well, a really good activity for you to be in is the FBA, the Future Builders of America, or the ACE program with Mr. Giles. So you want to definitely find something that connects to what your goal is so that it sets you apart when you're making your application to certain colleges. Leader positions look good. Leadership positions such as, you know, running for an office for the student government or a club that you're in. But don't do too much because grades and GPA and your test scores are the most important thing. So this is just sort of like the extra stuff. So make sure that you don't overdo it, but definitely have something on your application that sets you apart from other people. Make sure that you look at your transcript. Do you have your online class? Do you have enough AP or dual enrollment classes to look competitive? Do you have an F or D that you need to replace so that your GPA goes up some? How about a C from a high school class that you took in middle school? Do you know what your GPA is? Make sure you understand that. What does your class rank? Are you ranked in the top 10? Those are really good things for you to know right now. What about a resume? Make a resume. You're going to use this for many things. If you go to Microsoft Word, you can use a template there. If you're a Summerlin Academy student, Ms. Brister sends you a template with an example. She requires these so that when you need a letter of recommendation your senior year, she already has your resume and often your letters of recommendation. When you do an application for college, they may ask for a resume, but when you start to fill out your application and you have a resume, it is going to save you so much time when you're filling out your application. It helps you with the timeline reference, and it's really important to understand how to present yourself in the best light to a college. And writing a resume gives you a really good practice of putting into just as few as words as possible what kind of person you are and what kind of experience you've had and what you're looking to become. These resumes are very helpful and required for Summerlin Academy senior conferences, and I'm sure that the Bartow High School counselors would really like to have your resume as well, because the worst thing for a counselor is when we get a lot of requests at the same time and we don't have your resume and we don't know all the little details about you, that your resume is really going to help us write you a better letter. And we want to make you look in the best light possible when you're applying to colleges. And counselors are the ones that colleges usually contact to get all of this information. So it is definitely in your best interest to make sure that your counselor has your resume and as much information about you and your goals and what you're hoping to do as possible, because it also helps us give you really good advice and helps you when we create your schedule. We've covered a lot of information, not to overwhelm you, but to help you prepare. So what are you going to do next? You're going to get ready for your ACT, your SAT. Think about taking some AP classes if you're a good student. Maybe you need to retake the ASVAB so that you can get into the branch of service that you're hoping to get into. There's a lot of things to consider. You might need the PERT test if you're planning to go to Polk State or take dual enrollment classes at Polk State. Start looking into scholarships. Make your FastWeb account. Will help you get so much more information and know the colleges that you want to apply for and what they're looking for, so you know if you're in the right direction or do you need to start looking at something different. So know where you stand with your GPA and your test scores and know what the college is expecting. And this will help you start to plan. We really want to be there to help you with all your questions. You will have a junior conference. You can always email your Bartow counselors or text your Summerlin Academy a counselor on remind. We want to be able to help you understand what to do next. We'll be sending you information along. And as we mentioned earlier, you will have a packet that you get at your junior conference, which will help you start to understand a lot of the tasks that you're going to need to do. But don't worry, we are here for you. So if you get lost or confused, just send us a quick message and we'll help you get on track. We can't wait to see what happens to you in senior year and where you go from there. We're going to make this video available if you need to watch it again or share it with your parents. So there was a lot of information on here and we know that, but we do thank you very much for paying attention and we look forward to helping you.